Wow.
Welcome to Talks at Wolf3D. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, I will be talking about basically lean development today. Today at Retro, someone mentioned that we have not enough lean development. And actually that's the problem of a lot of modern IT companies, not only ours. It is very hard to explain to a person who is not connected to, especially not connected with IT development, what means like agile and lean and how to use that. And when I came first to game dev, I had this problem. Like everybody knew the name agile, but no one really knew how it works, and there was no good way to explain it. And especially when you have a team of people where half are not technical people, artists for example, or some business guys, and those don't understand terms which are written in IT books about agile. They like just, okay, agile is cool, and that's all. So I invented this idea that basically lean development was invented much earlier, like maybe a couple of 100 years ago, and artists used the same idea for many generations already. So I made this talk. It's called Think Like a Painter. Basically, it's all about thinking. What's inside your head, how you think about your work, and then you just order your work, organize your work in the correct way, and outcome that is more predictable than when you just work randomly using your, I don't know, some intuition, for example. So I will start by showing a video of the speed paint of the artist. This one. I think you all saw some speed paints already before, but I will add some commentary. Just pay attention in which order artists puts paint on the picture, like which parts. You can notice that artist never basically stops on one particular detail. It's like always working on the whole picture, like always taking into account the whole picture, and like not stopping on the lips. For example, artists would love painting lips or eyes, and artists would stop on eyes for, I don't know, several hours, and then just if he stops, then he will see that the eye is the only thing that he has ready. Everything else is just like crap. So he tries not to stop into the details too deeply, not to go there, because details coming later. So in the beginning it's just abstract contour, adding more and more stuff based on the previous work. So he basically painting over and over again the same picture, as you might notice. It's already finishing.
Fast.
Yep. Adding some last stuff and post effects in the end. So the picture is ready, but it could be ready at any other point during the slide. Because if I go, for example, to the center, for example, that one. Artists could say, okay, my work is ready at that point, and no one could argue, because it looks like a finished work, depending on the art style and the level of details what you need. Or if you go even further, 1/4 of the time, you can still say that it's ready. For example, depending on the style you want, you can say, oh, this picture is ready. Or if you go in, especially in somewhere in the beginning, or maybe not that beginning, maybe that beginning. If your art style is kind of like cubistic, you can say that this work is ready. So why is it useful? If you have a time limit for your work, you can, if you work in this particular manner, you never stop on the details. If time ends, your deadline comes, you can always stop without any questions, without adding anything additionally. So basically, you will just manage to finish as much details as you can. If for example, this artist decided that I need even more details, he could go even further than that, like 2 times more or 10 times more, like doesn't matter. So basically this is the whole idea, which can be used for anything in your life, like software development, I know, raising children, I know, developing a relationship with your partner and so on. Like, just don't go too deep into the details, and like it will come out automatically like that. What's the problem with software development? Why not everyone is using this basic idea? Couple of slides of the same artist made those concept art for the project I was working for. Never mind. So, if you go to the art school, this idea will be the first thing you will get taught in the art school on the first lessons, basically. So if you're like a young artist, like a child, you already know this idea, and you grow up to being adults with the same idea in the head during your whole life. But if you're a software developer and you go to technical school, no one will ever tell you that. No one will teach you that. And that's the problem. In the technical school, you will get a lot of information about which languages you use, like development, like programming languages, which tools, which change every half a year anyway. So basically, after the technical school, you come out, and everything what you know is how to use pencil and I know, rubber, and that's all. Like very advanced pencil. But the technique which can be used to make painting from this pencil is totally gone from your education. Maybe in the future it will be added, but not right now. Right now the technical education is very weak in this sense. So this is the example. I found 2 books. One is called Painting for Dummies, of for Dummies series, and second is called Programming for Dummies. So in Painting for Dummies there are names of the chapters, and those chapters are right in the beginning of the book. So the whole is the greater of the sum of the parts, devil in the details, and so on. So several chapters are dedicated to explain this basic idea to the young artist. And for sure, Programming for Dummies didn't have any of this, even this idea was not mentioned at all. What will happen if you start with the details, which sometimes artists also do? So you can see these faces painted, details are painted well, like noses and eyes, but you can see that the faces are distorted. So nose is okay, eye is okay, but together they don't fit. So artists painted details without thinking about the whole face.
Maybe it art.
Wasn't art. These pictures are taken, I think from the small village cinema theaters in Belarus. They still paint the advertisements for movies, because maybe they don't have a big plotter printer there, or just a tradition, hipster tradition.
Cool.
So a Terminator movie, it's the same. We can see that the jaw was painted too big, artist started from the jaw, and probably the whole head didn't fit in the composition, so the head went smaller, nose is too small, and everything looks like a crap, basically. Same here. The lower jaw...
Julia's gonna cry, stop it!
But actually the details are amazing here. Light is very nicely done, lips are detailed, nose detailed, some wrinkles on the forehead. everything is fine, but together it doesn't fit. Just because like artists thought about like details separately without like going back for too much, for too long and like validating, does it fit, like how well it fit and so on. So yeah, lower part is too big, head didn't fit inside, so we just painted it smaller. Easy.
Maybe someone actually looks like that.
Actually, it's the movie Troy, and this famous artist, not artist, actor. That's Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
if you didn't recognize him,
Dave Brad Pitt has been in river for 2 weeks. Yeah,
so you know. That's why I chose the pictures of the faces you already know. Like,
It
so
looks like the artist was laying somewhere, you know, and was drawing in the letter.
Yeah, laying on the side.
maybe actually this picture was on the ground to a big picture, and so he was painting with some perspective distortion. Maybe.
No,
like that.
No.
Okay.
Measuring.
Okay. This one is my favorite.
Wow. That's pretty bad.
That's Terminator, and the details here are like the most amazing of those pictures. Like you can see like individual hair, and maybe I can zoom in. I cannot zoom in. So you can see individual hair, you can see the scar on the face, you can see the eye, like one eye is like robot eye, one second is like human eye, but the eye is on a different level. And like artists like painted two eyes like very dedicated, like I love those eyes, I want to paint them, I don't know, eternally, but in the end the whole picture is crap.
What is the size of that original?
I don't know, I just found it on the internet. I think this one was like a couple of meters, like because I see some trees there. Yeah. So that's will happen, and this happens to a lot of software projects all the time. I can see that, especially when young developers come together and start doing something, almost 100% they will have something like that. It's eyes on different level, especially when separate people are doing eyes. For example, this eye is done by person A, this one is person B. For sure they will be different size and it will not fit together and so on. So yeah, always have to keep in mind the whole picture. If you instinctively, you often want to go into the details deeper because you for sure if you're a developer, you love your job, you like programming, so you spend like several days on one I don't know, scanning face scanner, and then in the end it wouldn't fit with the whole application, probably it will. So yeah, don't pay too much time, don't give too much time to some feature. Make minimum and then layer above later. So the main problem is, as I already said, for painting, these ideas were born somewhere in the period of Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci times, like I don't know, like several hundred years before, like, and maybe 500 years, and software development is around for about 50 years, not more. So it was like 10 times more time for painters than for us, but we can learn. At least we can notice it's the same idea and just learn from that. But we are just starting to do that. And
still in Stone Age.
Yep.
And never at the game paintings.
Maybe later, maybe in a couple of generations, you will hear the same ideas in technical school, if like same as you go to art school. And the modern techniques like lean development and agile development are developed from the 2000s, like so less than 20 years. So it's like nothing.
Do you know when was the Agile Manifesto published?
It was 2001, 2000, somewhere there, very beginning, so 2000s. So I added some more. It's more like a philosophy. So I very simply divided development of painting to several stages. For sure, it's very simplified. the development was like tree with branches. I made it like straight line to make it easier. So I started from cave painting. No rules. You do what you want, how you want. No one will judge you because no one knows how to paint in the beginning. And you just, I don't know, make your inspiration from, I don't know, your own body or nature.
Cowboy coding.
Cowboy, that's the cowboy coding, exactly. So developers, young developers always start from that. They have tools, programming language, they have, I don't know, some computer, and they just start like, whoa, something will come out. And then when they see a picture like this, they are proud of their picture because like, my first program, yes, looks so cool. But in the end, like after that, people start recognizing that with total chaos, we cannot go too far. We need some rules, something to bring things together more organized. So in medieval painting, rules went a little bit too strict. So you could paint only the way church allows you. Actually, the same trend we have right now in Agile. So like true Agile activists sometimes get a little bit too religious about Agile. Same way, so the trend is absolutely the same. Of course, maybe sometimes if you are an artist and you start painting against the church rules, you can even, I don't know, get killed or burned in fire, something like that. Same may happen with developers. If you're like cowboy developer and want to enter the team of like religious agile guys, they will be, I don't know, terminated, something like that. Burned. So when people start to understand that rules are so strict that it starts to, I don't know, it's like restricts our way of thinking of development. So came Renaissance. Basically, Renaissance is a set of new rules, just maybe more advanced rules, more connected to reality. And if we can compare that to steps with development, so previous step, medieval part, was probably waterfall development. Like a lot of companies try to do everything according to waterfall, also religiously. And this is kind of like from 2000s started Renaissance, agile, lean development. More realistic, better, and so on. And another stage which software development didn't reach yet, it's like avant-garde. It's basically back to the chaos, back to the beginning. So it's basically the same as cave painting. So all rules are removed, but it's totally different quality of the idea of the painting. Same, it will come eventually to us also, like to developers. So rules will be erased, but people will use something else to understand what is good and what is bad, not to break things. So to paint avant-garde, something like Cubism, you have to know the rules first and then learn to ignore them. So you cannot just go from...
Learn to unlearn.
Yes, exactly. You cannot go from cave painting to avant-garde, like straight. You wouldn't understand anything about it. You have to go through those steps. And the same will happen with software development, someday, maybe. Hopefully. So, in my opinion, it was actually, I wanted to think about at which stage software development right now. We can debate about this. I think that somewhere between cave painting and medieval painting, because still a lot of guys develop like in a cowboy fashion, ignoring all the rules, not thinking that rules are necessary at all. At the same time, we already have some agile guys who got too religious about their agile thing. It's like somewhere in the medieval painting and also Renaissance at the same time. So we are somewhere mixed in between those steps. And as I explained also, the development of painting was not straight line, it was like tree with branches. Same for us right now. So we have several branches active right now, and all of them are on the market. So we can find developers of different type, on different stage, and so on. This I wanted to explain for. Usually I give this presentation for on some game jams or on some meetups where young developers come who don't have too much experience. So I wanted to explain them how to use this idea for different roles inside the team. Maybe it's not so necessary for us.
It is. I'm a young developer. Kind of.
Yeah. I was talking about game grammar and so on.
Up and coming, yeah.
I hope you understood how it. So basically, the idea is to change your way of thinking, and if you change your way of thinking, you will understand yourself how to apply this way of thinking on your work, what you do every day. No matter what, yeah. So basically, you don't need all of this. You can have your own ideas how to apply this lean development on your everyday work. Yeah, sounds like Agile. So I already mentioned that it's very similar to Agile and lean development. And of course there are some exceptions. If you're an artist and making tattoos, then probably painting all over and over again is not a good idea. But you can have workarounds like sketches, for example. And once I gave this talk, one of the companies in Tallinn was invited. The guys compared this idea to the building of the house, which is totally inappropriate comparison.
Left to right.
Not even that, because when you see that when a house is getting built, this is actually not the development stage. The development stage was when they created the blueprint of the house. It was there they had Agile, probably. They took some basics, maybe started from the box, and then added windows and so on, like detail by detail. And when you see the house getting built, this is already more like a compilation, like a code compilation. And it's like totally, like mostly automated process. So the house building and with painting is a bad comparison. Security. If you are working on some software piece, for example, I know some banking software, which is where security is very important. Though security is like a tiny detail, you can never leave it to the end, because if you're somewhere in the middle, for example here, and you have deadline, never mind. And you have a deadline, and you want to release on the deadline, you have to have some time thinking about security before that. But we don't have that problem. Actually, security is a big issue in other software pieces and takes a lot of time, just a gigantic amount of time in the end. If you're free from that, you're so happy. Monetization. I was talking about monetization for game developers, and at the same time, right after me and before me, there were two guys on the stage who were talking about like some kind of frameworks you can integrate in your mobile game and get more money, some in-app payments, purchases, and so on. And they all said like, start your project thinking about monetization, how you will get money from that. And I said, told guys the totally opposite. Hey, if you start from monetization, you will fail, because you need to think about how your product will be used, will your game be interesting for people to play, and monetization is kind of like a detail for me, how you will get, if it will be popular, you will find a way how to get money for that. So just make something good and popular, and then think about monetization, in my point of view. And yeah, not only for software, use that for everything. I use the same idea to make this presentation. Just make a couple of sketch slides and start to divide them into pieces, adding more details and so on. Yeah, and I could continue like eternally to make this presentation 2 times longer, for example. Add some more ideas and details, but I just decided to stop at one point. So yeah, this is the basic idea. I don't know. We hope
Nice.
it will help us.
You asked last week about storytelling, like what it is. That's storytelling, like using the art or artist example or the art styles and the progression of that to illustrate the point with development. Like that's exactly what it is.
So I get a good story.
Yeah, it's really good storytelling.
Cool.
Good. Does anyone have questions? What will avant-garde programming look like?
Avant-garde programming will look like
Haskell.
if